Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Matt with United Black Voters, and in today's episode of UBV News, we're talking about the Luka Anthony Davis trade. So that's what we're talking about, man. It's a hot topic. I know typically it doesn't fall in the realm of politics, but we're gonna talk about it. Can you talk a little bit about what happened and the details of the trade?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So if you have been living under a rock, well, I'm sure everybody heard about this, but just in case if you haven't, Anthony Davis was traded to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka freaking Doncic. Now that
Right.
took everybody by surprise. And I tell you what, I was surprised. I was actually coming home from hanging out that night. I came home and I got this text message, and the message said Luka for AD. And I laughed. I sent my crying emoji eyes to a couple of friends. I just laughed it off, whatever. But then I looked at SportsCenter again, and it said that it was actually true. So I thought
Yeah, yeah.
Shams got hacked, which is the guy who broke the story, and I thought it was just a joke. So, but that's the issue that most people are talking about today, Matt.
Yeah, it is, man. I know for me when I saw it, I was like, man, this is crazy. I think you text me and said, "Hey, man, they just traded Luca." You put it in our group text. I was like, "Man, that's crazy." So I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Man, this is unprecedented." I know another key thing. A lot of people are saying a lot of different reasons why it happened. So, what are some of the things that they said for the reasons that this trade happened?
Well, the main reason I'm hearing from the streets, from the barbershops, from the internet, everywhere is that it makes sense for both teams. So you would say from the Lakers side, the Lakers got young, they got somebody to replace LeBron, and post LeBron, they have their guy for the next 10 years that they can be their franchise star. So it makes sense in that regard. And then for the Mavericks, and they feel like a lot of Mavericks fans, they feel some type of way, but the Mavericks feel like they got a two-way player, a rim protector, somebody who can anchor the defense, and somebody that can make a championship move now. So both teams feel like they got something from the deal, and that's what most people are saying. Like, maybe it ain't so bad after all. But then you have to think about in terms of long term versus short term, because from the short term perspective, it looks like the Mavericks won the deal because guess what? They get Anthony Davis. They get somebody that he's 31 years old, but they are looking to win now. Whereas the Lakers, they don't really have a whole lot of pieces right now because Anthony Davis, he covered a lot of the stuff, a lot of ground for them. So that's where you have it right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I heard as well too, and I can't help but feel like when people were talking about the reasons they did the trade, it sounded almost like talking points. Like in politics, we always say, "Hey, those are talking points," and you kind of like, man, what's the real story? What's the real story behind this, man? So, and I think this is really where we really want to talk about what do we really think is happening. Now, this is all speculation. I know that, but I want to hear from you, Ivy. What do you think really is happening, and what really happened behind that trade?
Yeah, my true honest opinion, and this may be a hot take, but I'm being honest. I think this is the rise of the oligarchy. And what do I mean by oligarchy? I mean the rich, the super rich, not just if you're a little millionaire or something like that, little Instagram influencer. I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about the uber rich, the super rich, the billionaire class. They're actually asserting themselves and they're taking power and control of not only just the narrative, but they're putting people back in line. Was nothing more than a power move, a straight power grab, a power move to let people know you better fall in line. So when you hear things like, "Oh, this is not our culture," that's code words for, "Hey, we want to win this way. This is the way we believe we want to win." So I think that this is the oligarchy, the rise of the billionaire class asserting itself. You see it in politics, you see it in sports, you see it in
Yeah,
business, you see it across the board, and they're saying, you know what? Player movement and the player empowerment that happened for like 10 years in the current NBA, this is kind of like pretty much like the end to it. And I'll have one more point with that because most of the owners, if you look at the owners, the what the owners thought about this and what the players
mm.
thought about it, two different things. The
Yeah, that's
players
true.
were
That's
like,
true.
"Oh man, guess what? Oh man, that's wild. That's crazy, man." But the owners, they were the ones that's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell them, put them people in their place." So I think that's what you have there.
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. Like people don't really know that. the Dallas Mavericks were sold recently. So, for instance, people always remember the Dallas Mavericks. They think of Mark Cuban, this really big, players advocate as an owner, probably one of the most popular owners in terms of player advocacy. But he kind of sold his majority stake to the Adelson family, and I think they're worth $32.4 billion, one of the richest families in the country. And on top of that, they're huge political supporters. I know the last few elections, they've been huge supporters of Donald Trump. So I think to your point, I really do agree that I think this is also them saying, hey, you know what? We don't really like what Luka stands for. We're not about to pay this guy $70 million a year. And that's different because we haven't seen this in the NBA. We've seen it in the NFL, but we haven't seen it in the NBA. And it really does feel like, to your point, Ivory, that the owners are saying, you know, at least this particular owner is saying, you know what? Nah, I don't like this guy. Get him out of here. And it's,
Yeah.
you know, that's what it
Yeah,
feels like. That's what it feels like.
I'll be honest with you, it does feel that way. And when you think about in terms of player empowerment, now you talk about owner empowerment. Owners feel emboldened. They feel like, look, why should we be loyal to the players? And again, I Kevin Durant made an interesting post about this. He commented about this. He said, look, here's a prime example. Owners don't have the sense of accountability like we do. When we want trades and when we try to vouch in for ourselves, we get looked at as selfish. But when ownership can ship somebody out, they have no loyalty neither. And I say to that, you're right. It's a business, and you have to do what's in your best interest as a business and also as a player, which you are your own business. But I also think to your point, Matt, we're shifting from just being an individual person, like just having your own individual stardom, because Luka is the biggest star in the NBA. I mean, ain't no star bigger than Luka. He's like a global icon. And if they're saying, hey, look, we can ship you out of here. And for those of you who say, well, this was just a business decision and it just was about business. Again, Marion Adelson is worth $32 billion. Now, you tell me, is this is probably just a side hustle to her? She's a casino person, right? This is where she
Yep.
make her and her husband, her late husband, Sheldon Addison. This is where they made their money. So when you think about this, you have to consider the fact that these people they think on a different level. This is just a side hustle for them. The NBA, that's a side hustle thing for them. This is about ownership and control and power.
I couldn't have said it any better, and just remember everybody, politics is everywhere. It's everywhere around you. It's politics in Target, it's politics in Walmart, and there's even politics in your favorite sport. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you follow us at United Black Voters. Check out our website, unitedblackvoters.com. Do our survey at Black Agenda 2028. Take care, everybody.